Okay, I call to order the July 8th, 2020 meeting of the Springfield Board of License Commissioners at 5:25 p.m. in the Law Department Zoom room of Springfield City Hall. Commissioner Cade has not joined us yet, and Commissioner Siciliano will not be joining us. But I have Commissioner Espinosa and Sene and Signatory present, so we have a quorum and we can continue. The first order of business is approval of the minutes of the hearing of June 10th, 2020. Commissioners, have you had a chance to review the minutes?
I have. They look good to me.
Rosa?
Yes, look good.
Okay, I would make a motion to approve the minutes as provided. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Espinosa?
Yes.
Commissioner Sene?
Yes.
Commissioner Signatory, yes. Okay, we have minutes are approved. We're going to go around a little bit. We're going to go to a petition for Attorney Malik has been patiently waiting. We are going to go to change of manager for Donahill LLC, based on the package store located at 32 Fort Pleasant Avenue. And Wahab Baki is the proposed manager of record. Attorney Malik.
Peter, thank you. In 36 years of practicing law, I never thought I'd see anything like this. This is a first. Thank you to the commission for doing this in these uncertain times. I feel very safe by doing this, and I know my clients do, and I'm sure others. So thank you for doing it. I'd like to introduce Wahab Bari, who you can see to the right of me, and Mohammed Ashraf to my left. Mohammed and his wife, Fazi, constitute Manaya Hill LLC. They are the owners and the manager of the LLC. Wahab is Fazi's brother. So that's Mohammed's brother-in-law. And what has recently happened, commissioners, is that the current manager of record quit unexpectedly from the package store. So it is necessary to appoint a new manager. I would submit that the best manager that could be appointed is Wahab. Let me tell you about Wahab. He's 35 years old. He's married with 2 kids, has lived in Agawam for 9 years now. He is TIPS certified. He has experience from working at South End for the last 3 years. He's ordered liquor. He's stocked beer and wine. He has sold beer and wine at the store. And he's intimately familiar with what it means to be a manager of a liquor license. He's going to work there for at least 40 hours a week. He's dedicated to his family and he's dedicated to his job. I've reviewed with him all of the relevant sections of Chapter 138. Not to sell to intoxicated persons. He knows not to sell to minors. And he knows to check for fake IDs. I'd like to add that Manaya Hill has not had any violations since 2017. And with the appointment of Wahab as the manager, the track record of no further violations should continue. Wahab is qualified, very well qualified, willing to assist his family members, and has an appreciation for what it is to be a manager. And for those reasons, I would ask that the commissioners approve for the change of manager that you have before you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize Commissioner Cade, who has joined the meeting. Wahab, this is your job, your full-time job?
Yes.
Okay, so you'll be working 40+ hours per week at the package store?
Yes, 40 hours there, and then I have another job as well. which is a part-time.
You want to make sure that this is your priority, this package.
Yes, 100%.
And you have worked there, I'm sorry, how long have you worked there?
3 years.
3 years, okay. And how many employees sell alcohol at the store?
We have total of 3.
3?
Yes.
And are they all tip certified?
I am 2 are, 1 is on the way right now.
One is being certified?
Yes, like I'm certified. There's another one who's certified, and third one is halfway through it already, basically.
Did you say they're halfway through the process?
Yes, the third person, yes. He's on with it.
We don't want that person selling alcohol unsupervised. No one sells alcohol.
Basically, all the videos I saw, online, I made a recording of it, and I shared with everybody that works there. So they all see the videos.
Okay.
The License Commission requires all the employees who serve beer and wine to be tip certified. It's been a long-standing practice and it's very sound. So every employee who works for Maniah has to be tip certified. To the extent they're not tip certified, they shouldn't be touching or selling beer and wine. I think that's what Mr. Signatory is trying to emphasize to you.
Yes,
Okay, you understand that?
100%, yes.
Okay. Once they're certified, you will get a certificate of certification. You have one already.
Yes, that was submitted this afternoon.
Okay, but those expire and you have to keep them, renew them, and keep a copy of everyone's on file.
Yes,
And you live in Agawam, is that correct?
correct, yes.
Now, I'm sure Attorney Malik has explained to you the level of responsibility of being a manager of record of a package store. You
Yes,
what happens there, whether you are there or not, and you are, should there be a violation of mass liquor laws, which is typically in a package store situation. Do you understand and accept that responsibility?
yes, 100%.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Bari?
My only question would be, how many, are you open 7 days a week?
Correct,
From
yes.
9 to 11 at night? What's your hours?
We are 6 days at 9 to 11, Sunday is 12 to 11.
And you only have 4 tip certified people serving with all those hours?
3.
I'm there full-time, basically. There's another one full-time. And then there's another one that's basically full-time too. So there's 3 people off and on,
All right.
working there no matter what. So I have my 2 days off. They all get 2 days off no matter what.
Okay. If those 3 people can cover all those hours, okay. But
Yes,
anybody who is not a tip certified employee selling alcohol,
we don't want that. We want everybody tip certified. Better that way. Better safe than sorry.
okay, if there is a sale to a minor and there is a violation, and we ask for the certification for that employee and you don't have one, it will not go well at the violation hearing.
You will have that also. We'll mail it to you right soon. Email it to you right soon.
Is he talking to you, Paul?
No, I think he's saying that he would be sending the certification to the License Commission, to the 3rd employee who is in the process of being certified.
Okay.
Correct.
Commissioners, any other questions?
No.
No. Okay. This is a if you're not familiar with the process, it's arduous. This is a bifurcated meeting, meaning we take public input on these hearings, and we have to allow the public to submit any comments. For example, if they were to have something to say about Mr. Bari's fitness as a manager of record, we have to allow them to make that input. And we will continue this hearing until July 22nd to allow for that input. And at the July 22nd hearing, we will then vote to confirm. So with that being said, if there's no other questions from the commissioners, I make a continue this hearing to July 22nd. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Espinosa,
Great.
Yes.
Commissioner Sene.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you for coming, and we will see you on July 22nd.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
So much. Hey, everyone. God bless.
Now we're going to. Okay. Mr. Barry, where are you?
Yes.
Yes, you there? Oh, there we
I'm
are.
here.
Do you have your word?
Ray Berry, or I'm sorry.
No bird?
Oh, his last name's
It's
Berry.
breaking up.
We're gonna go to the informational hearing on Mr. Barry's request for a field on Main Street. Business on 2 days, can't stay. So for the commissioner's benefit, the White Lion Beer Garden that kind of has settled over at the old Steiger's location. Commissioner Barry would like a permission to have the beer garden permit for that location. And Attorney Days has done some research on it.
Yeah, so, Ray, just so everyone's up to something.
Yeah.
Okay. Regarding your plan for the beer garden, what remains a concern, of course, is that my understanding and my interpretation, and I confirmed this with Ralph Sacramone at the ABCC, is that food needs to be on site. So I understand that you are suggesting that a beer garden serve as the place for food, the alternative to food, but can you help me understand how we get around that requirement, or what you're proposing?
So I'm sorry, you broke up at the very end. I heard that part of you speaking with the director of the ABCC and that food has to be on premise. That's my understanding as well. And then you cut out a little bit, Director Days.
Okay, I think that was, I'm old now, Ray, I can't remember. We'll go with that. So again, the primary concern, of course, is how do we satisfy that requirement? While I can.
Okay, I got you. Okay, so my response to that would be, and let me just share, I wholeheartedly defer to the ABCC, the Health Department, and the City of Springfield's License Commission. I understand the circumstances that we're operating within, and at the end of the day, the company's first priority is safety for not only the company employees, the patrons, and anyone else that is impacted by the virus COVID. So I understand and would honor with no hesitation or reservation whatever the disposition or outcome may be. But in regards to the question relative to food, there are a number of beer gardens throughout the Commonwealth that the local health department does allow, so it's a health department decision, does allow food trucks to be that defined on-premise food element. Now, all health departments do not adhere to that, so it's a decision by each respective health department. The way that the regulation is written, it calls for prepared food on site. It really doesn't define what the prepared food on site comes from. It could be a food truck. It could be the actual brewery having a hot dog stand or a charcuterie board, peel-away board that is already pre-prepared for the consumer and allowing that as an option. There was a recent interview today or yesterday that was shared by the news station in Boston that the Mass Restaurant Association was encouraging bars that did not have a food element to come up with something that was food related. And it could just be as simple as a grilled cheese sandwich, a hot pretzel, a grinder, a pre-made sandwich. So again, anything that fits under the definition of prepared food. Now, my approach, and I had shared this via email with with Madam Director and the Commission, is if the health department deemed a food truck permissible, then that would be the approach that we would prefer and work along those lines. I have, or the company has, its retail food permit application on file with the City of Springfield's Health Department, and we have already reached out to food trucks and other food purveyors that have the ability to move around in our space or occupy our space to serve food, who have been in contact with Steve, the director who issues the retail permits, and felt that food pre-prepared on site would be allowed. Now, I haven't had a conversation directly with Steve. I have not had a conversation with Helen Colton, the director of Health and Human Services. But I think it starts with the health department and their comfort level on how to approach the food element on premise.
Okay. I agree with that. It definitely has to come from Helen's camp if in fact the food truck is going to be permissible. I will tell you, and we can talk more about this offline, but I did have a conversation with her. It was a concern for her as well. So again, I think you're right. And I have to discuss that piece of it with you. I'm sorry. So then, of course, the things that we're concerned about, aside from the COVID issue, are in terms of serving. Where do you serve? There's an outside bar?
So as has been the case in past 2019 practice, we create an environment that warehouses a pouring station. So it's almost as if you are cutting out a portion of your tap room, picking it up, and placing it in a different environment. So everything is secured. Obviously, under the COVID plan, no one can approach and request a beverage. It has to be served to the patron at a table. So we would have weighted service go back and forth between the pouring confinement and the outlay of patrons at their tables. So to answer your question direct, there is a quasi-permanent structure, I should say, that would be placed in the park. And it would remain in the park throughout the duration of the approved timeframes associated with the permits.
Okay. So, Ray, I'm going to have to double check that too, because at my understanding of the current regulation is that there can't be outside bars here, even if they're approaching or not approaching that. Even service for restaurants and stuff, it has to be inside it. Bring the beers out. And I think the concern, quite honestly, is sanitation, right? And the ability to wash hands and things like that when people are actually serving the beer. And that's another question, but again, I'll have to get an answer with respect to that.
Sure, understood.
Well, this would be, how would this be different than the park that the Tiffany Street wanted to use their pavilion with a permanent bar? So the use, the neighbors are not.
That's correct. Yeah. So again, I need to whether or not we can do that.
Hey, just so you guys know, you guys are coming in very broken up from your location.
Oh, are
Yeah,
Yeah,
everybody else.
there's feedback,
But there's a lot of feedback from your
a lot of
location.
feedback.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to explain that.
Is it?
So I would close in stating, unless there's any other questions relative to that, if there's already precedent made or established in the city where a venue has an outside pouring area, then to your point, Director Days, that should be vetted and looked into on whether or not our beer garden can also fit within those guidelines.
Yeah, and I think the difference, well, and the reason why I want to double check, because did that open up as a result of phase 3? That I don't have the answer for. That's what I need to find an answer for you, because if in fact that has not changed, then I think that, we're at an impasse in terms of having a bar, if you will, outside where it's connected to an establishment. But I can let you know that tomorrow.
Very, very good. Thank you.
Ray, the example that we have is, the Elks on Tiffany Street has the pavilion down back in the field.
Yes, very much aware. Yes.
Wanted an expanded patio license to use that pavilion, and the ABCC said, no, you can't do that. You have to put a tent next to the building so that you can bring alcohol out from the building into the tent. So that's what we're going to have to look at. And my question is your proposal to follow the patio guidelines where you have the tables 6 feet apart and so many people at a table, and the alcohol and the food is going to be served to these people while they remain seated?
Correct. All of our paperwork adheres to the guidelines and application questions that were submitted or submitted under phase 3 as guidelines and submitted by the city of Springfield. So yes, 6 feet apart, seated service, waiter or waitress type engagement, and that's how we would approach it.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions about this?
My only question would be, is this the first time we will have something like this in Springfield? We haven't approved any one-day licenses for different events, right? Yep.
We have not.
No.
Okay. I would just be very concerned with the safety and security of something like that, because there's a lot of people that don't have a clue what's going on right now. And you could get people walking in and out of that location or any outside, even a one-day event, that don't even understand the social distancing, the face mask, that they can't walk up and get a drink like they used to. I would just be concerned about what we put forth for security on any, not just Ray's, any event that we have outside where the public can walk in and out right now. Because there's so much misunderstanding and confusion right now. By the public, that's all.
Something else that has to be considered. There can't be more than, I don't know how many people come here. Only been twice, but so that's a concern as well. But I'll get definitive answers for you.
Very good. Thank you.
Ron, the ones that come to mind for me are like the church festivals, like those kind of, they're not going to have them, right? For sure. Oh, we know that already. Oh, it's that type of thing where they bring, set up a beer booth and and games of chance, and people wander about, and Ray is the first application, but if we're going to look at his, then everybody else is going to be in line behind him. And
Absolutely. Yeah, we need some type of standardization with
Right.
the events, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
So what do we do? Just continue this?
Yeah.
I make a motion to continue this discussion till the hearing of July 22nd. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Espinosa,
Yes.
Commissioner Sene,
Yes.
Commissioner Kay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And are you leaving us? All right. I'm gonna move on and charge now, Gary. We're gonna go back. We're gonna try to follow the schedule now. We're gonna go to the continued petitions, and we have a continued petition. This is our first continued petition for shelf, 238 Chestnut Street. Is Mr. Ramesh is here, and Attorney Kelly, and Mr. Melendez is here.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So we did not have the opportunity, commissioners did not have an opportunity to interview Mr. Melendez at the first hearing. So could you tell us, Mr. Melendez, a little bit about your experience serving alcohol or being a manager of a, have you been a manager of a licensed premise before? Let's start with
that. Recently with Shadow Lounge, I applied for a transfer license, and I've been working for Paul for about 10 plus years. I know his clubs, so I'm aware of the dealing with people with alcohol, plus I'm also tip certified.
Have you ever been a manager of record before?
Not until recently with Shadow Lounge.
Okay. So are we doing a transfer of a change of manager on Shadow Lounge then?
No, Top Shelf.
So are you the manager of record of Shadow Lounge?
Yeah, let me explain. They're attached to each other. Like they all is right next, like 3 feet apart from each other. So we've done this before. We did it with the Zone and Saga with Pedro, which is the same building, 2 different licenses. It's the same situation with Top Shelf and Shadow. It's the same building, 2 different licenses.
All right.
It's a small little strip, so they're right there.
Each other? Okay. So you are the manager of record of the Shadow Lounge now?
Correct.
Okay. So this is your full-time job doing this?
This is my night job.
Your night job.
When we're the days that we open, yes.
What are the hours going to be of Top Shelf? 2.
10 o'clock. We open around 9 o'clock to set up. We open the doors at 10 o'clock.
To 2 a.m.
To 2 a.m., yes.
Right. How many employees will be selling or serving alcohol there?
Give or take, we usually have 1 bartender at a time. On a busy night, maybe 2 bartenders.
So 2. So you are tip certified, and those 2 bartenders need to be tip certified. You know that, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you need to keep the certificates current, and you need to keep copies of them on file. You know that, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you live where, sir?
I live in Springfield.
Thank you. Okay. Now, you know already as a manager of record that you're responsible for everything that happens there, and you're answerable to this commission should there be a violation. You accept that responsibility, correct?
Yes, I do.
All right. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Melendez?
Probably more for Attorney Kelly, or Paul. That's a very narrow place. What's the occupancy going to be in there?
99.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very, very small. So it's
Yeah.
tiny.
It's pretty tiny.
99. Okay.
Can the occupancy be 99, or is it under the COVID rules, or is there any?
Well, no, under the cover rules would be like I can probably fit like 8 tables.
8.
So 8 times 6, whatever that is.
6.
48.
Yeah, I think Ron or the commissioner said, but the question was, under normal circumstances, what was the capacity, right? Like the fire limit, in other words, the old number. The old number would have been 99.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No. So this is your second hearing, and we have had no input other than Aqua's approval, correct?
Correct, according to the licensing department.
Licensing department has received no public comments on this application since the first hearing. I did receive an email from Betsy Johnson of Aqua saying that they had approved your application. So no other questions from commissioners. I make a motion to approve a petition for new all alcohol general on-premise license for Top Shelf 2, 238 Chestnut Street, Carlos Melendez, manager of record. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Cade,
Yes.
Commissioner Espinosa,
Yes.
Commissioner Sene,
Yes.
Signatory, yes. Okay, it's on the way to the ABCC. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay. Next hearing is a continued hearing for a petition for new beer and wine package store license for Ocean State Job Lot at 1686 Boston Road. And we have Mr. Kaiser, who is the manager of record, and Attorney Edelman.
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening.
We have received no input, public input, correct? We have received no public input on this application. So do the commissioners have any questions? No. I would make a motion to approve a petition for a new beer and wine package store license for Ocean State Job Lot, 1686 Boston Road. Robert Kaiser, manager of record. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Cade,
Yes.
Commissioner Espinosa,
Yes.
Commissioner Sene,
Yes.
Commissioner Signatory, yes. Austin, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night.
Next is a petition for a transfer of license and pledge of license for One Stop Market, 475 Boston Road. And who is representing?
Mr. Chair, Attorney Truax of Salem is here. My clients were here, but I don't know if I see, oh, there's one of them. And I'm missing another one.
They're all here, Tom.
Everyone's here.
Everyone, yeah.
There they are in the corner waiting. Okay, so this is a purchase of the license, transfer of the license from Gemona LLC to One Stop Boston Road Incorporated, correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chair. The corporation has entered into a purchase and sale agreement. They're buying the real estate and the business. Rockland Trust Company is the lender on this transaction. You have all the loan documents, and they do require a pledge of license and a pledge of inventory. Mr. Bharat Patel there, Bharat Kumar Patel, who I see, he is the president of the corporation. He is currently part owner of a package store in Westfield for the past approximately 4 years called Pleasant Street Market. I remember working with him on, I believe he has the BAT certificate, which I believe is better than tips, that you require to do the tip. And somewheres I don't see on the screen, but Megha Patel, the proposed, she's also the director of the corporation. She has been working for the past 4.5 years at the Shell Food Mart in West Springfield, which is a package store as well, beer and wine. She is tip certified, and for both Mr. Patel and Ms. Patel, I'll provide copies of their licenses. Mr. Patel will have to fill you in on the other employees. I think there's only 3 that would be serving, but he can tell you that. And the store hours, I believe, they close at 9. open at 8, but he can correct me on that. I know Ms. Patel, the manager, is going to be working there Monday through Friday from 12 to close. And Mr. Patel will have to fill you in on his hours and the hours of any other employees. Answer any you may have.
Okay, so Mr. Patel, you are the owner of the package store?
He's the president, Mr. Chair.
I'm the president. Yeah.
Okay, so how many employees are going to be there selling alcohol?
Hello?
How many employees will be there selling alcohol?
Oh, 2 people.
2?
Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Patel and one other?
Yeah, Mega Patel and Meet Patel.
Okay.
Or Dimple Patel. Yeah.
All right, 2 employees. Tell us
Yeah.
what the hours are, because I know Colonel Sene is going to have a question about that. What are the hours of this package store?
Yeah, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. The store has a lottery.
Can you repeat the hours, please? We didn't hear you.
7 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Yeah.
How many days a week?
7 days a week.
Sell alcohol at 7 a.m. So 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. you're selling alcohol?
Yeah, those are the easy hours. Yes.
All right. And that's 7 days a week, did you say?
7 days.
Yeah, 7 days a week. Yeah.
2 people are going to work 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Those are very long hours. You sure it's only going to be 2?
Yes.
Okay. Those 2 people have to be tip certified. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. And you need to keep the certificates current and copies of their certificates.
Yes.
If you're selling to minor, we're going to ask for a copy of the certificate. You understand that?
Yes, I understand. Yeah.
Okay, good. Ms. Patel, you have been working in the store for 4 years now?
Yes.
But not in a managerial capacity as an employee?
Sorry, what? I can't hear you well. Yes.
Maybe this will help. So you've been there in a managerial capacity or as like a sales clerk?
Manager.
Manager. Were you a manager of record?
No.
No, as a manager. Okay. And you live where, ma'am? Where do you live?
Yeah, I live in West Springfield.
West Springfield. All right. As a manager of record, this is a step up in the level of responsibility. As you probably heard me tell the previous licensee, you are answerable to this commission if there's a violation of mass liquor law, which is a selling to minors. Do you understand and accept that responsibility?
Yes.
Commissioners, do you have any questions?
I'm just amazed that the 2 people are going to work that many hours.
I've seen it done. A lot of my clients, they put in the long hours. It doesn't surprise me. It's not a real big convenience.
It's not? Okay.
No.
Now, the other one, he's the manager of the place in Westfield.
No.
He's going to be there full time and then spelling it, no?
Not the manager, just the part owner there. There's a separate staff over there. He's just a part owner over there.
Okay.
Separate license manager over there and everything.
Okay. If there's a selling to minors and we hear an excuse that the manager of record had to leave or go home and that the store has been left in the care of someone who is not tip certified, that will not go well anymore. So if you find that you need additional employees, you're certainly able to hire additional employees, but they all have to be tip certified if you have more employees selling. Is that clear?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Commissioners have any other questions? No. Okay. This is a bifurcated hearing. As I explained previously, we have to allow for public input on the.
I think we lost you.
We can't hear you. Peter, you're having major problems down there.
Oh, okay. We all set?
Now we hear you.
You can hear me now? So this is a bifurcated public hearing. We have to allow for public input. So I'm going to make a motion to continue this hearing to July 22nd so that we can allow for public input, and then we'll issue the final approval then. So I make a motion to continue. Have a second.
Second.
Commissioner Cade.
Yes.
Commissioner Espinosa.
Yes.
Commissioner Sene.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Signatory, yes. We will see you on July 22nd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the commission.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, members of the commission.
Next petition is a petition for a new general on-premise beer and wine annual license for White Lion Brewing Company, LLC, DBA The White Lion, located at 1500 Main Street. Raymond Berry, manager of record. Commissioner Berry, unmute you. Tell us.
I just unmuted myself. Thank you. Well, again, I just want to thank the commission for this opportunity. As noted, Ray Berry, applicant manager of record for GOP at White Lion Brewing, 1500 Main Street. I am a resident of the city of Springfield. Just real quick, the location is currently licensed by the Tobacco Trade Bureau for brewing, warehousing, distribution, and has an FDA approval and under the food facility requirement. The location is also licensed and permitted by the Commonwealth's ABCC for brewing, retail, warehousing, and distribution. In June of 2019, we went in front of the city council and received special permitting, light industrial, to again be in a position to brew from 1500 Main Street. That was also reviewed and endorsed by the neighborhood council. So since our inception, 2014, we have branded the city of Springfield as our home. We do a number of events, a number of philanthropic givings, etc. And we recognize, and those in the craft beer trade recognize, White Lion as the city of Springfield's lone full production brewery. The city of Springfield has not seen brewing production since a couple years post-prohibition. And during that time frame, the breweries were not sustainable and went out of business. So we're very fortunate to have the support that we have, to have been able to cultivate the brand, and now be in a position to bring light industrial full production brewing to downtown Springfield. Our GOP application requests us to operate 6 days a week with a food element and obviously a tap room element to sell our craft beer. The uniqueness of this particular project is the consumer, the patron, can come in, grab a bite to eat, drink a non-alcoholic beverage, or have a beer, and actually see and witness production right on the ground floor of 1500 Main Street. A number of breweries that operate, sometimes the brewing component is separated or behind closed walls. We wanted to create a unique experience for the general observer, and we will be doing that when we open up. But the purpose of this is to try to move forward and bring the entire operation full circle, which requires us to have a GOP tied to the day-to-day operations.
Okay. Tell us about the food element. Now, you have a GOP, but food will be available somehow.
Yes. So the space that the 7,500 square feet in Tower Square that used to be occupied by Spaghetti Freddy has set aside some square footage for a kitchen element. That is not going to be controlled by White Lion Brewing. That's going to be controlled by the Springfield Hospitality Group. So the Springfield Hospitality Group has an opportunity to take over the kitchen itself, or it can outsource that to what we prefer, a local food purveyor or vendor. Craft beer is built on local, so we're hoping to be able to partner with a local food provider. So that is the intent. The intent is that that separate entity will operate within our space and provide a lunchtime, early evening food element for folks that are coming in and out of downtown Springfield.
Okay. Now, you said you're going to be open 6 days a week. Is that Monday through Saturday, or?
Yes, so the intent is, and again, this is all based off of the reception we receive from the consumer. But the intent and how we have applied everything is Monday and Tuesday, 11:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then Wednesday through Saturday, 11:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. We expect Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to be the heaviest traffic days between the hours of 3 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. One of the reasons why we are not extending our hours Monday, Tuesday past 7 and Wednesday through Saturday past 9, craft breweries are looked at as destinations. They create an economic spinoff. We want to be able to have folks come in to our venue and then visit other venues, especially in the downtown corridor, before they close, or visit those venues and come and visit White Lion before we close.
Okay. So those are the hours we're going to put on your license, 11:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. and 11:30 a.m. to 9 p.m.?
They are the hours.
You're requesting. All right. And how many employees do you have?
So currently we have 6 employees, but when the tap room opens, we expect to onboard another 6 part-time people. The 6 that are currently on payroll are full-time. However, the individuals that work the tap room, there'll probably be a full-time person operating the Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday in association with myself. But then there will be per diem and part-time employees working various hours and various shifts.
Those that are serving alcohol, we tip certified, right?
Correct. So one of the practices and requirements for White Lion, even if you are not serving alcohol, in order to work for the company, you have to be TIPS certified.
All right. I'm hearing 12 plus employees will all be tip certified.
Whoever walks in that door has to be TIP certified. Yes, sir, Mr. Commissioner.
All right. So what is happening there now? Is it in operation now?
No. I wish. So we are so let's look at it in 3 phases or 3 pieces of the overall square footage down there. You have the brewing element, you have the tap room component that we're talking about now, and then you have the kitchen. The brewing equipment is almost complete. We believe by the end of July, our brewing team will be able to start going in, cleaning the equipment, and preparing it for an eventual certificate of occupancy. The tap room component is following the construction people are following suit. Emphasis is placed on the brewing equipment, and then the tap room is being built out around that. The tap room component is probably 10 to 15% behind the overall construction timeline relative to the actual equipment that's in place. So we believe that Equipment will be ready to be scrubbed by the end of July. The tap room will be ready for cleaning and cleansing prior to a CO during the latter part of the month of August. And then hopefully everything depending on the disposition of the commission and the ABCC on the GOP, we hope that the month of September would be a good time for us to start welcoming patrons into the space.
Okay. Now, is this going to be your sole brewing op?
Yes, I have dedicated the rest of my life to White Lion Brewing.
You're brewing somewhere else now, right?
Oh yes. So I'm sorry, I misunderstood the question. But I am dedicating my life to White Lion Brewing. So right now it's called a contract brewing model, which means brands can start and brew in a different location at a brewery that has excess capacity. The intent of our model was always to take that brewing and bring it to downtown Springfield. So once we open up, we'll be able to brew approximately 98% of our capacity in that space. And then as time goes on, we'll have the continued partnership with the third-party facility right up the road and utilize their space as well.
Oh, all right. So most of it will be brewed right there at Tower Square?
Without question, yes, sir.
All right, okay. And I don't need to ask you if you accept responsibility for that 10 million times. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Derrick?
Yeah, I have a question in reference to just the attraction. Are you indicating that people will come in to see how the beer is brewed? That's one attraction. The other attraction, it could be that the beer is so good that people would like to come in. So are there any other kinds of incentives to get people in?
So a number of breweries do brewery tours. People like to experience and touch the brewing process. So that's another area that we're looking at. Obviously, it would be hard to do that under the current COVID restrictions, but once they are lifted, again, hopefully in 2021 sometime, that's another avenue that we can promote and encourage folks to come down and be part of that experience. And then the other thing, Commissioner, is we're always in a position to do special events that are unique, not only to the city of Springfield, but the surrounding communities. And that draw alone, similar to what we've been able to do in prior years with the beer garden, brings people downtown and allows them to visit other venues.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I comment and then a question for you, Ray. 25, 30 years ago, when we were down in Pentagon, we would go to Old Alexandria on King Street, and they had a brewery. It sounds just like what you're talking about. It was in an old building not far from the Potomac, and they had the huge vats and made the beer, and they used to pack that place. I mean, people love to go down there and watch the process and try the different types of beers. So I hope you do very well like that business had seemed to be. But my question would be, I'm a little confused about the restaurant. When you're open with the beer, is the restaurant going to be serving meals too? So there's always going to be food available?
Yes, yes, there would be food available while operations are open.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No. All right. We do have an approval letter from Armory Quadrangle. We appeared before Armory Quadrangle and they approved the request. And Ray, you have been to planning once or twice now?
We went to planning, again, similar to this, bifurcated. So we had hearing 1, hearing 2, approval, which moved us over to your commission.
All right, okay, good. So we have to allow, this is a bifurcated hearing, we have to allow for public input on this new license. So I will make a motion to continue the hearing until July 22nd. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Kane?
Yes.
Commissioner Espinosa?
Yes.
Commissioner Sene?
Yes.
Commissioner Signatory, yes. Okay, Ray, we'll see you July 22nd.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Okay, good night.
Take care.
Good night.
Okay. Next item is a pre-hearing conference for Center Stage, 265 Lloyd Street. Joanne Askins is available.
Hi.
And Attorney Kelly.
This is in reference to something that occurred quite some time ago. It was February 5th. There was some police reports written which recommended a charge of failure by an employee to report drug activity to police, and I'll summarize those events briefly. So what is said to have occurred is that on Center Stage on that February 5th date, there was some sort of argument over stolen money inside of the establishment. This resulted in the arrest of several people, and one of them apparently was said to be an employee of Center Stage, and he was charged with possession of a Class B substance, cocaine, after officers recovered 2 bags of crack cocaine on his person. That person told police that the drugs were not his, and he had, in his words, taken it off of someone who was inside the establishment. The charges recommended by the police stem from the fact that this employee didn't alert the 2 extra detail officers who were working at Center Stage to any drug activity inside of the club. And there were apparently other events that also called, I believe, other police to the club as well. And the allegation is that this person, by his own word, took the drugs off of someone inside the restaurant, but didn't, or I'm sorry, the establishment, but didn't turn it over or alert the police that were there, or later came to the fact that someone had possessed these drugs inside the club. So that's essentially what is alleged. I know I've spoken to Attorney Kelly, and he, I think, has some information he wants to present regarding this. So.
Just briefly, I mean, if you've read the reports, it's kind of a long recitation of other criminal activities that have nothing to do with why we're here. But at the base end of it, you essentially have someone who's being placed under arrest for other issues and then says, oh, that drug's on me? Yeah, those are mine. And I'd be willing to bet, and I see out of the corner of my eye, I see Officer Delamarter down there, that this person isn't the first person at the booking dock in the City of Springfield Police Department when had drugs found on him to say, oh, the drugs that are on me? No, those aren't mine. Those are someone else's. I got them from somebody else. That I can tell you, having been in court since every day until this started, it's 1996, that has never worked even one time. Mr. Delamarter can give his own experiences. So that's essentially the violation here. Somebody who got caught with drugs said they weren't mine. I got them off some chick in there, meaning the bar. And then we're supposed to believe that as though it's been chiseled in stone and violate a club that may never open anyway, but have a violation. So I'd ask you not to do that. Ms. Askins is also on here. I'll have her go over what the employment status of that individual was. He was a former employee who was there that night and helped out with crowd control, but he wasn't on the payroll or working there. But besides that, I just want you to keep in mind what the standard of proof is here. It's not as though any bald assertion equals a violation. There has to be some weight of evidence, have to be some knowledge on behalf of the licensee. Some person caught with drugs using the old, oh, it's not mine, I would suggest doesn't even come close to rising to that level. If this was a court of law, you would be laughed out immediately.
Attorney Kelly, can I just ask you, you mentioned, I think that, so the person that was arrested, he was not an employee on the date of this incident, or he's not an employee now? Can you clarify that for us?
Well, they don't have any employees now anyway, but he was not an employee on the date of that incident. He was a former employee. He did work there, but he was more of, these people hang around as regulars that kind of, hang around strip clubs.
So not on the payroll on February 5th? Or?
No.
Joanne, what was he doing there?
He just had stopped by. A lot of people just stop in and out, ex-employees all the time. He hadn't worked there in, I would say, well over 7-8 months, if not longer. You know, he knows the dancers. Guys like to come in and flirt with the girls, especially when they were bouncers. You know, so they come in, and of course, they know people, so they feel better. They go and talk to everybody. It's you know how it is when you work somewhere. You go out, you want to feel important. Our old employees kind of always come back and hang around. So, but he wasn't at any work capacity, and again, like I said, he has not been for quite some time. And he was also, he was not terminated. He has his own side business or something where he does carpenter work. He left on his own amicably. He was not fired for any reason whatsoever.
He just quit.
He just gave his notice. He did not just quit. He said, going off, I have extra jobs to do. He works on houses, builds stuff, fixes stuff, whatever it is. I don't know his business name, but he didn't have enough time to continue to work at night and build his business during the day that he was working on. So it was very amicable. No issues there.
Okay. How did this come? I didn't follow.
So there were some, and maybe Officer Delaware, I'm not telling the story correctly, but my understanding is that from the reports that there was some sort of argument inside the club over someone supposedly stole money from somebody else. This argument, I believe, spilled out to the parking lot, and someone ended up getting hit by a car in the parking lot. So for all of these reasons, I believe the police were summoned, but there were also several Springfield police officers working.
Yes.
As well. So I believe there were several officers there, several that came because of sort of the commotion as well and responded to the scene. But I think that's essentially, but that's essentially what happened. So.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, how did it come to be that you discovered this cocaine on him?
He was arrested.
He was arrested for what reason?
A person in the parking lot with a car.
He was driving a car and he hit a person?
Hit a person. So then he was arrested. And his possession was the drug.
And he said he was working in the club and he got it off of somebody else in the club?
That's what he said, right. I did receive a call from David Askins after they filed a report saying the guy wasn't an employee anymore and hadn't been for a while, just as joined. At the time, I assumed he was an employee based on the police reports, the way it portrayed it. I was told afterwards, after I had submitted these reports, and they received the paperwork on their end, that the guy was not employed. That's not hadn't been for a while.
I wonder if I could make a suggestion. I wonder if maybe we could give you an opportunity to give us some paperwork on the fact that he wasn't working there any longer at that point.
Like the payroll for that week?
Yeah, something like that to show that or his resignation letter or something. I don't know.
Okay. I can submit that. Ms. Askins, how long that? I mean,
I can email that to you. I can get it from Heather tomorrow, and I can email that to you.
All right.
I'm just making that suggestion. Is that all right with the commissioners? I don't.
Would you like it for the entire month before that, so that you have proof that, because he hasn't been with us for quite some time, so.
So our concern is that this was an employee of the bar who had cocaine in his possession. And if they can prove that he was not an employee of the bar and that this incident occurred in the parking lot, then there is no issue?
Well, just to clarify a little bit, the actual charge is failure by an employee to report drug activities to the police.
Right.
Not even just possession of it, but
Okay.
failure, I found drugs and
Okay.
I didn't tell the police.
Okay.
So
the issue is that he is an employee.
correct. So I think my advice is that if we can get some evidence that wasn't the case, this is what we're being told, that might resolve the issue. But that's my suggestion.
If Ms. Askins can email that to me tomorrow, then I can forward it to the commission office via email. Is that okay?
Is that right with the commissioners? That I think that makes sense.
That sounds reasonable. Anybody else have input on that? So, do we continue this?
Why don't we, I think that makes sense. And then
All right, so pending receipt of these payroll records, I would continue this, make a motion to continue this to July 22nd. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Cade,
Yes.
Commissioner Espinosa,
Yes.
Commissioner Sene,
Yes.
Commissioner Signatory, yes. We'll continue this to July 22nd, pending receipt of the payroll records. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We are going to go on to, you want to do the new violations or the hearing of the temporary expansions?
Everyone.
All right. We have a laundry list of temporary, remember how we did last time, all the licensees who are requesting expansion, patio expansion. And I have some notes based on the just to remind you, the email comes from Anna in the License Commission office, and it goes to me, and it goes to building and fire and police and health, and they all weigh in on each application. So I have some notes from the emails that I can share as we go along. I was reviewing these when I was called up here, so I don't have anything on the ale house. Do you get these?
I don't have that.
No. So my understanding of how this works is that we are going to approve these, and if any other department has an issue, that issue has to be resolved before the permit is actually issued, I believe is how it works. So if I don't have anything, then Anna is not going to issue the permit unless any other department has, every department is clear, then the permit gets issued. If a department has an issue, then it's held up until that issue is resolved. So the list is the Irish Ale House, which was the old ale house on Worthington Street, the John Boyle O'Reilly Club, which is okay, Le Souk, which requires permission. They're requesting use of the property, which belongs to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, behind the old, what is now the school department building, the old federal building on Main Street. So that's an issue with that one. Eat Bistro, which is not even serving alcohol. They just want to serve breakfast and lunch outdoors. The Forest Park VFW post, which is self-restricting to 9 p.m. due to the fact that they are in a residential neighborhood. The Fraternal Order of the Eagles, which is on St. James, I believe, and they are self-restricting to what they are calling dusk. And if you ever looked up the definition of dusk, it's quite complicated. So Phil, I discussed it with Phil Jerome in the planning, and I would suggest sunset rather than dusk. Frontera Grill out on Boston Road, and the DPW has a concern with how they are going to separate the patio from the parking lot. Other than that, that one is clear. The Marconi Club, which has been approved by all the departments. Maddie's Cafe, which has residential abutters in the back, and they want to use the back parking lot, but there are actually homes abutting that parking lot. So I would suggest no later than 11 p.m. on that one. They have not placed a restriction on their hours in their application, but I would suggest no later than 11 p.m. Petra Cafe, which is over here on Main Street, and a lot of the departments had issues with that DPW fire building as to where they're going to serve. Are they going to have a tent? None of that was specified in the application, but all of those would have to be resolved before the permit was issued, is the way I understand it works. Rory Fitzgerald's, which I don't think there's an issue with that one. Solmar Restaurant out in Indian Orchard, which abuts a residential parking lot. I believe we already discussed that one at the last meeting, and we decided 11 p.m. closing restriction. I don't know why it's on here again, but the Zone on the foot of Worthington Street for their patio was approved by all departments. Uno's over on West Columbus Avenue, which was approved by all departments, and the ex-pub, which has a tiny sidewalk, and we are assuming they did not provide a site plan. We are assuming they're going to serve in the back. They have a back parking lot, alley kind of thing in the back. So with those hours restrictions and all concerns met by all departments, I would make a motion to approve these temporary expansions of premises. Does anybody have comments? No. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Kay,
Yes.
Commissioner Espinosa,
Yes.
Commissioner Sene,
Yes.
Commissioner Signatory, yes. Okay, thank you. And we do
I have
have,
a question, Mr. Chairman. I did get a call from Harmony Lodge. They indicated that they were trying to get connected with the office today, the licensing office today, but they couldn't make a connection. Also, they indicated that they went down and couldn't get into City Hall, but they had their application and they wanted to submit it.
City Hall is open by appointment only, so but it sounds like they tried to call and couldn't get through, but what they need to do is contact the licensing department to make an appointment.
Yes, they were indicated they tried to get through, but they couldn't. So I just let them know to just try tomorrow.
Okay, if they continue to have problems, you can let me know and I can
Okay, sure.
their contact information or something like that.
Andrew, do you know if they have an application prepared?
Yes, it's, they indicated that it's ready to go.
Oh, all right. Okay. I got a call from Buddy Williams, and he said he was meeting with them and thought that they would be submitting something to have something in the parking lot. But,
Yeah, they have something ready in the parking lot. The only problem I see is they do have abutters though that are very close.
yes. Yeah. So the hours would have to be limited.
Right, absolutely.
And if they're, they're unfortunately, woefully, the days are getting shorter. Really. So, unless they have outdoor lighting, the outdoor service can't go too late, right? It starts getting dark at like 9 o'clock.
I got a question. When they get back to full capacity, will they still have these permits?
What, well, the permits, the temporary permits, they're only getting November 1st at the latest, or unless the governor decrees that we're putting an end to it.
Oh, okay.
Faster than we think they are, but they're going to expire no later than November 1st.
Okay, all right.
I have one other. I found in my email, which was not on this list, I don't recall, maybe one of you does, whether we discussed it last time, which was Ciro's on Main Street. Did we discuss that last time? No. They have a,
We did, and we said they had that area out back.
So that
there was some maybe pushback from the church or something. I'm not sure. I remember talking about Ciro's and we said they had a little area out back.
did we approve? All right. So if we discussed it, we must have approved it, and pending any disturbance of the church.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. That's all
I'll
right.
look it up later, but I remember that coming up.
Good. Okay. You want to go to violations? We have new violations. Everybody have their new violations?
Some are quite old because of all
For our entertainment.
I do.
they're new to you. So the first one is McCarthy's Tavern. The date of the incident is February 29th, 2020. This was about 1:45 in the morning. Officers were dispatched to McCarthy's Tavern, which is on Cottage Street. We were told by a female there, a patron, that she had been in the bathroom and another female patron had grabbed her in the buttocks area. The officers were able to speak to that other woman. There was some sort of debate about the female patron wanting the other person arrested, but that's essentially what happened. There was a police report written. There was no arrests that resulted that night. The Springfield Police Department requested that these reports be submitted to you for your review and whatever action you deem necessary. If you need more detail than that, that's just a summary. can provide that.
Stop laughing, Ron.
Well, I'm laughing because she got patted on the butt 5 times. She must have enjoyed it. I can say once or twice, but 5 times?
5 times.
Anyway, whatever.
No, that was funny.
She filed, they asked her to file the report, she drove away. So, to take no action on this. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those, make you do roll call. Commissioner Cade,
Yes.
Commissioner Espinoza,
Yes.
Commissioner Sene,
Yes.
Commissioner Signatory, no action. All right, next.
Next is Shadow Lounge, March 2020. A little after 2:30 a.m., officers were dispatched to Bay State Medical Center. They had the report of an assault. They spoke to several people in the emergency room who were being treated for minor injuries. They told officers they had been at the Shadow Lounge about half an hour earlier, a little before 2. As the bar was closing, they reported that a fight broke out in the parking lot across the street from the Shadow Lounge. The 2 stated that they were punched in the face by unknown people as they walked through the lot. Officers did note that one of the complainants did have some minor injuries. It sounds like scratches and abrasions on their face. They couldn't provide any description of the person or persons who assaulted them. The Springfield Police Department had requested these reports be submitted to you for your review and whatever action you deem necessary.
Is there any indication that these unknown people or patrons of Shadow Lounge?
There were 2 cruisers actually in that area at the time on directed patrol, and none of them were even aware that there was an issue in that parking lot. And they left messages with both the male and female. Neither one ever returned calls. So,
Anybody have anything to say about this one? No. I make a motion to take no action. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Cade,
Yes.
Commissioner Espinoza,
Yes.
Commissioner Sene,
Yes.
Commissioner Signatory, yes, no action. Next.
Next is the 5th alarm. This was March 2nd, 2020. Around 5 p.m., a female came to the complaint desk at the police station and filed an assault report. She stated she had been working the previous day or the previous night, about 11 p.m. at the 5th alarm, and that there was some sort of argument between her and a bouncer there. The female reported that the bouncer grew increasingly angry to the point that he grabbed her by the shoulders and tossed her to the floor. She reports that there was a video of the incident as it happened inside the club. She was advised to seek her own complaint by the police department. The police department did request that these reports be submitted to you for your review and whatever action you deem necessary.
Do we have a video?
there is video. Dave Askin sent it to my phone. So it shows the bouncer, the male employee, seated. The female walks over to him, kind of walks around him. You can tell she's yelling at him. And then she swings, punches at him. He stands up and just kind of shoves her away. And that's the end of the video. She never returned any calls. So I'm assuming she didn't want to move forward because I never heard back from her. I left numerous messages at the phone number.
Is there any desire by anyone to see this video?
No, just a point of information for me personally. When you say she was advised to seek her own complaint, does that mean go to the courthouse and file
criminal? She wanted to pursue criminal charges. She was advised to do that herself at court.
Oh, in court, not at the police department.
Correct. Right.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But in essence, what they were telling her is if she wanted to pursue criminal charges against him, she would do it herself at the courthouse.
And you wouldn't know if she did that.
She did not.
I would assume she didn't, only because she never returned my call. Right. And
Right.
Why I was calling.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have Comments? I make a motion to take no action. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Cade?
Yes.
Commissioner Espinosa?
Yes.
Commissioner Sene?
Yes.
Commissioner Signatory? Yes, no action.
Okay, we have One Stop Discount Liquors, March 6, 2020. Officers arrested a male at that location, which is on Central Street, for several charges, including assault and battery, malicious damage to property, assault with a dangerous weapon, and a threat to commit a crime. Officers were dispatched there for a disturbance called in by the staff. They reported that a male was inside the store breaking bottles and fighting with employees. Upon arriving, the officers observed several broken bottles and other items out of place. The employees were arguing with this male, who they identified as the person responsible for the damage. He was escorted out of the store by the officers to speak with him. He became aggressive toward the officers. They report that the male had some swelling around his eye. They were trying to speak with him about that. He was detained. They spoke with the employees in the meantime. And the owner reported she was on scene along with other employees, and they learned that this male had attempted to buy some alcohol. They refused to serve him as he appeared to be intoxicated. This upset him. He swore at them, demanded they serve him the alcohol. One employee attempted to escort him out of the store. He then pushed that employee. Another employee intervened. He assaulted both employees by striking them in their bodies and face a number of times. A number of bottles were knocked off the shelves during this commotion, shattered on the floor. Some bystanders intervened and separated everybody. The male then armed himself with a bottle of liquor and advanced toward the employees. He attempted to strike them, didn't make contact. The male then directed his attention toward the owner, who was already on the phone with 911. He came at her with a bottle, attempted to strike her, but was unsuccessful. The bystanders intervened again, separated him from the store staff until the officers arrived. The officers noted that one of the employees had some slight swelling on their face as a result of this. The employee showed officers video footage of the incident that was captured by the store security cameras. The officers noted that the footage was consistent with the account provided by the employees. The male was placed under arrest. He apparently struggled with the officers. They had officers and threatened them, things of that nature. The Springfield Police Department requested that these reports be submitted to you for your review and whatever action you deem necessary.
What a horrendous incident. I can't recall an incident like this in a very long time, where they're destroying inventory and beating up employees. This is horrendous. So this person was, what happened to him?
He went to jail.
He's in jail?
Well, I don't know if he's in jail. I mean, he got locked up that night. I doubt he's in jail. No one's in jail now because of everything that's going on.
Oh, great. It's down the street. That's great. So the store did nothing. They did everything they should do. They had
Correct. Right.
Okay, so this is just an incident on a licensed premise, but it doesn't appear the licensee did anything wrong. Anybody have a comment?
No.
Make a motion to take no action then. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Cade?
Yes.
Commissioner Espinosa?
Yes.
Commissioner Sene?
Yes.
Commissioner Siciliano, yes. Commissioner Signatory, yes. No, you're my own name. Another one.
And I think this is our last one. J&J Package Store, June 16th, 2020. Around 5 p.m., officers arrested a female at J&J Package Store, which is on State Street. The charges were shoplifting, resisting arrest, and possession of a plastic substance. Officers were dispatched to the store for a larceny in progress called in by the staff. The officers arrived and recognized the female who was inside the store. An employee told officers that she recognized this female from prior incidents and watched the female on this date as she concealed multiple bottles of assorted alcohol inside her bag. The employee alerted a supervisor who called the police. Officers recovered numerous bottles of alcohol from this female's purse and also located a bag of PCP on that person or in her purse. That female resisted arrest when she was being placed into custody. Officers also spoke with the owner of the package store who was on scene. She told officers that the female had also stolen a large amount of alcohol about 5 days prior on June 11th, and she has video footage of both incidents. That's essentially what was reported here. The Springfield Police Department requested these reports be submitted to you for your review and whatever action you deem necessary.
Several bottles of alcohol.
She must have been married to the guy from One Stop.
Any comments? No? Make a motion to take no action. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Cade?
Yes.
Commissioner Espinosa?
Yes.
Mr. Sene?
Yes.
Mr. Signatory, yes. No action. And we have an entertainment district report, and that's it. Okay, all set.
Question, did we meet at a different time today?
Rise!
Apparently there was some confusion because the agenda was posted with our normal time. Link was sent out and it said 5 o'clock, so a lot of people arrived.
Oh, really? I never saw it. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I never saw it.
Everyone showed up early because of some confusion, so that's what happened.
Okay.
The office, they had to call and get me, so we weren't the only one, Andrew.
All right.
I make a motion to adjourn until July 22nd. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Cade?
Yes.
Espinosa?
Yes.
Mr. Sene?
Yes.
Mr. Signatory, yes. Thank you. We'll see you
All
July.
right. Bye-bye. Take care.
Have a good night,
Good night,
everyone.
everyone.